RiverBender.com. Welcome back, 1041. Brian, this is one of the first times you've been around on this side of the table.
Probably.
Yeah.
I'm usually bringing guests.
I'm glad to have you as the guest today, and really a couple of cool things to talk about. This pole recycling, I'm interested to know more about, and also I really am fascinated to talk to the Mylar balloons, because it's one of those things that it seems like at least once a year there's some story in the news cycle of one of these balloons causing some significant damage to the infrastructure.
Correct, right.
Well, and now let's start with this this pole recycling. So what can you fill us in on with this?
That's a great one, because so we've been trying to recycle poles for 20-some years at Ameren on both sides of the river, Illinois and Missouri, but it was always really hard to find one vendor who could do that for us. And in Illinois, we partnered in 2022 with a company called Blackwood Solutions, and they go and pick up our broken poles, decommissioned poles at our 50 operating centers. And what they're able to do is they take all the hardware off for us, and they any of the environmentally friendly treatments that we have on there to keep bugs and rot, they take all that off. And then they recycle those poles, which is fantastic. So we're actually reducing our footprint in landfills.
Well, and see, that's what I was curious about. So before that, is that where the poles just went, was landfills?
Unfortunately, yeah. Again, over those 20 years, we'd have a little bit of a success. And then for whatever reasons, it just never stuck. So if you can imagine, literally on Easter Sunday, we had a car hit a pole in our neighborhood, and I was explaining to a group of friends that I was with last night. They go, "Hey, what happens to the pole?" I'm like, "Well, I'm going to be talking about that tomorrow on the radio, as a matter of fact, TV." And so, if a section of pole is 30 feet long, and it needs to, previously would just go into a dumpster. There, we have an operating center here in Alton. It would go into the dumpster, and the landfill company would come and pick it up, and it would go there. So I would always tell people, if you see that pole, it's 30 feet long, it's taking up that exact footprint in a landfill. So with this partnership since 2022, we're diverting literally tons of wood waste every year.
Well, and the number that gets me is just, you're replacing on average 24,000 poles in that two-state service area. So, because, one pole is large, but add 100 and then we have an issue, and then you add 1,000 and
right.
Man, you have a significant problem. What were some of the issues that led to, you said that it would never stick. What led to that? Was it just a volume thing for some of these facilities, or was it just, the way of the times for...
I think it was volume for one.
We easily can see that.
Yeah, and then, what were they going to do with it? Were they going to, have the time to put it into wood chips or whatever? And so this company that we work with does all of the above. They recycle it for farmers, for fence posts. You can reach out to them. You might go to a local park here in town and see actual power poles on the ground that kind of, that's the area where they're set up so you can park your car. So they're almost like the little, parking blocks.
Right.
Or they'll make them into wood chips.
That's really cool, though. I wouldn't even have thought about what happens afterwards, because I can only imagine, some of the days that you guys have over there, with how many poles that are getting damaged and need replaced.
Right.
Do you have like a number or ballpark of like per day, or like what that would look like for you guys? Because to me, it seems like it comes in waves where it'd be nothing, and then boom, you have all this happen.
So the 24,000 number that you referenced, so that the poles can be, we recycle them three different ways. One is if they're involved in an accident, which just happened in my neighborhood, and a pole gets hit by a vehicle and it's broken and we need to do something with that broken pole. It could be as simple as it's reached the end of its useful life for us. We have a robust pole inspection program that if you go into a neighborhood, you might see something that looks like a silver dollar on a pole, and that's marking and saying, hey, it's been inspected by somebody within Ameren, and this pole still has, plenty of life to it. Or, as most people probably think of poles being damaged, it's through storms.
Yeah.
And, we've had some pretty intense weather. I'll just use that word. I'd like to use other words,
Right.
but this is a family program, so I won't use those words. But I mean, yes, so we've had lots of poles
Right.
damaged this year. So those are the reasons why we go and replace about 24,000 poles on average every year on both states.
So, since the program's inception, just from reading a little bit, 5,500 tons of wood waste is recycled, which would be the equivalent to 22 787 passenger planes. That is, to me, is just an absorbent amount of weight, and also just debris that, I mean, you're just, like you said, taking up from the landfill.
Right, correct.
Wow. So now, how long does this program go? Are you guys on like a contract with them, or like a 5-year, or do you see this ever slowing down?
I don't see it ever slowing down. You know, the funny part is, and I got to be careful the way I say this.
Right.
So with Blackwood Solutions, I mentioned the farmers. So what they do is the poles that can be recycled into fence posts, they actually give those away for free to farmers.
Wow.
The only caveat is there's such a back order now. I mean, they're like 18 to 24 months behind because there's such a demand for free. But this is, you know, one of the ways that they're keeping those poles out of landfills. Just like, so that's really, really cool to see that. And
that is really cool.
Yeah.
Well, and too, could you imagine if you were the guy that got the jump on the pole, you know, before everyone else did? So
Right.
they're waiting 18 months and your fence is already lined up
Exactly.
and done. Well, I like the fact that there's so many different ways to utilize these too, because, I mean, honestly, you drive by them and you don't think much of it because it's something we've just seen our entire lives. But to know it's being recycled into, you know, chips or going into fences,
Right.
I mean, and really helping area farmers, that's really a big thing. And was that something that they did on their own, or that you? So that's really cool.
Yeah, that was another really neat part
Wow.
of the partnership, is that they were actually going to do something with the poles, you know, not profit from them,
Right.
by giving them away free as fence posts, and then again, you know, the parking blocks and the wood chips.
Now, this is a silly question, I think, but do you guys ever foresee the wood power pole getting, you know, altered?
Good question. I don't want to bore you with too many geeky details, but it takes 40 years for a pole, or it takes 40 years for a tree to mature, and there's only certain kinds of trees. Southern pines are the best to become power poles. And most of those are grown down south in Alabama. There'll always be a need for them. But I can tell you that, we have noticed, in order to strengthen our systems, we call it storm hardening, we're using a lot more composite fiberglass poles.
Wow.
But they're much stronger. They actually can withstand high winds. They are designed to, if your viewers can see my hand moving, that's actually a pole is designed to sway. They are probably 3 times more expensive than a wooden pole. So, but we use those strategically. In fact, if you drive along the river road, you might see a few of them.
That makes sense with the trees and
Right,
the debris
right.
and everything.
Yeah, so so we use quite a bit of those, but there, you know, we have more than 50,000 miles of power lines that crisscross our Ameren service territory. So the short answer is yes, we're always going to have a need for wooden power poles.
It's interesting. Well, I mean, just to hear some of the volume on this too is just really fascinating too, Brian. And before we take a break and come back and talk about Mylar balloons, and this is one that I really find fascinating, what should the public know about this pole recycle program?
I mean, again, just doing what we can to be good environmental stewards by, you know, diverting as much wood waste as possible. I'm going to be hesitant. I don't want to give out any information about Blackwood because I don't want a bunch of people calling them, even though they would probably like it. I just don't want to frustrate anybody by, I'll get on the 2-year or 3-year waiting list. So, but I mean, you can learn all about the different things that Ameren does in its recycling program through we recycle transformers, all that sort of stuff. If you're, you know, interested, you can just go to AmerenIllinois.com and go under our environmental section and learn all kinds of things that we do.
Really cool. Hey, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back with Brian, and we're going to talk a little bit more about Mylar balloons, because, you know, every year, like I was just saying, we always see the stories that come out and just some of the destruction. I mean, it truly does cause, and some of the other nuances to it. We'll take a quick break. Only 64 degrees out there. Man, a little chilly today.
When I got in the car accident at the ER, they gave me a prescription of hydrocodone. And over time, it took more medication to mask the pain. I moved over to drug seeking and found heroin and fentanyl. I went to the Centerstone rehab facility, and it was the best decision I ever made in my life. I have my own car, I have a job, there's nothing holding me back anymore.
Do you need to declutter your space? Time to call me, the Queen of Junk. Since 1993, we have grown to be the leader in residential, commercial, and property management junk removal. At Sparks Junk Removal, we are eco-friendly. We recycle, donate, or repurpose items back into our community. Trash is our last resort to the landfill. Plus, with our all-inclusive service, our crews handle everything from labor to lifting and landfill fees. Give us a call or visit our website, sparksjunkremoval.net, to reclaim your space today.
When you need a project done right, on budget and on time, trust Gillahan Concrete. Gillahan handles every kind of project, big and small. Commercial, industrial, residential, from room additions and garages to patios, driveways, and more. Gillahan brings quality and experience to every job. Family owned with over 30 years of service to our community. Call today at 618-781-3914 or visit GillahanConcrete.com.
Looking for the best barbecue in Madison County? Head over to Carver's Barbecue in Godfrey, Illinois. From loaded barbecue nachos to mouth-watering pulled pork, brisket, ribs, and more, Carver's serves up award-winning flavors you'll love. Family-owned, Carver's is all about fresh-made in-house dishes served daily. Come visit us at 2716 Groveland in Godfrey, or give us a call at 618-467-9999. Order online, get it catered, or stop by for the best smoked meats around. Where great flavors meet family tradition, you'll find Carver's Barbecue.
Have a rash, pink eye, or urinary tract infection and need care now? OSF On-Call Urgent Care is here to treat you. Start a virtual visit 24/7, whenever and wherever you need it. It's just that easy. osfoncall.org/virtual visit.
You're listening to Our Daily Show with CJ Nasello on RiverBender.com.
.53, welcome back. Brian back in the studio with us. My allergies and voice barely hanging on. But, this is the one with Ameren I was so excited to talk about because it's one that we would literally cover every year over in the radio station in St. Louis. And even here we see that the stories, these Mylar balloons. And it's one of those where they look nice and, they're always a part of the celebrations, but they leave widespread, damage and also, a lot of, inconveniences to thousands of people potentially once these, kind of get lost in the air.
Right. And let me start out, and you're going to laugh when I say this, but Ameren is not the balloon police. I just want to start. We want people to celebrate. Okay,
I knew that truck was driving around my house when we had that party, Brian.
Yeah, exactly. we do want you to celebrate. We just want you to properly dispose of your balloons, especially the Mylar ones. And so, what the issue is with the Mylar balloons is there's a metallic coating on the balloons, and when they're released, if they come in contact with power lines or anywhere in a substation, that metal property on the balloon can come in contact with an energized area. It can go around the balloon, spark, arc, and then if it pops and the debris goes into our system, then it can cause an outage. And when I'm saying an outage, we've had them as small as like 70, 80 in the Metro East. We've had as many as like 2,500 to 3,000 on the campus of U of I a couple of years ago during a graduation celebration. And so they do happen, and they happen not only in Illinois and Missouri, but all across the United States.
Well, and this is just incredible to me. So, what sort of outages have these caused just recently?
We'll start really seeing a spike just because of the time of the year. We're getting into graduation season. So for us, the numbers I shared are like I think last couple of years, we've had over 100 outages just in our service territory, and the number of hours and minutes is just, inconvenience for our customers.
An average duration, listen, 111 minutes, and it impacted 14,000 people and 170 events.
Right.
That's a little astounding to me. And just like this in Granite, on June 19th, you got 1,000 people had to eat lunch in the dark when Mylar balloons floated into a nearby line. It was a 90-minute outage.
Yeah.
Well, what's that cause on the stresses of, an Ameren response team, especially when it, comes to this time of the year where you guys are managing everything else. Plus now we got to watch for balloons.
Right. So a couple of things. One is that, we got to put our guys up into the energized zone to remove that property that if it's exploded onto the system, and it does explode, and it leaves a gooey residue.
Wow.
So, we're putting them in harm's way. And then the other thing, I wish I could take credit for this, was a former vice president of our operations. He has granddaughters, and he said when those metallic properties explode onto the system, it's like removing gum from a child's hair. We really have to go in and get everything out of there, because even if we leave just the smallest little of metallic material, as soon as we re-energize that could arc back and forth, and that leftover property can cause another outage all over again, even though we've already removed the balloons if we think that we've got it all and we didn't. So it does make a tremendous mess.
That's just, this is just incredible. There's 3 different instances I'm looking at. One for over 4 hours without power. Mm-hmm. And if I found out what birthday party that was, right?
Well, yeah.
It's one of those things though. And like you said, during, in Champaign-Urbana, 1,200 for 3 hours.
Yeah.
And that's all due to just simple balloons. And now, do rubber balloons, do they still do they cause the same amount of, damage that a Mylar balloon does? Can particles still get into your system that way too?
Great question. So there is a difference. So we don't like any balloons being released. The difference is the rubber balloons will not come in contact, and they won't cause any outages in terms of, the wind will blow them, but there won't be any sparks and there won't be any material that, sticks to it. Mm-hmm. We still don't want you to release those rubber balloons, because our guys still have to go up into the energized zone and put themselves in harm's way.
Big time.
To remove the balloons. Or if it's in a situation where it's large enough, unfortunately, we're going to have to take an outage just to remove the rubber balloon. So either or, we're just asking people, celebrate. Again, we're not the balloon police.
Right.
And just, keep them tethered.
I just keep thinking that eventually these are going to go away, because what they're doing to wildlife and everything else. And they're nice and it looks cool, but just, the damage alone, because I don't even know how you'd begin to manage a power line or transfer, whatever you have that's arcing, and you have all these different, that's a very scary situation.
Right. You can go out onto YouTube and you can certainly see celebrations of, we've seen elected officials release balloons and have them literally fly and go across a parking lot. And you can see the explosion and see all the lights go out. It is real. You don't think about it. And then the other thing that a lot of people don't realize is that you can be right here in downtown Alton at the RiverBender headquarters here and release balloons. The wind might be blowing, and they may blow down into Wood River. They could blow down into Edwardsville. So the balloons will float for a while. That helium, after a while, is going to lose its luster, and then they're going to start coming down. That's when we see a lot of the outages that way as well.
Let's say, I held a big old, family gathering or graduation, and we're out at the, park or whatever, and we release these balloons, and it comes from our balloon. Does the customer get held responsible for putting 1,400 people without power? How does that work? I'm sure it'd be tough, but is there any accountability there?
It would be tough. I don't know if there's really any accountability. The only way that we would maybe know that it was your balloons is if it had, CJ's birthday party on it or something like that. So the odds of us actually knowing who released the balloons or not. I've never had a situation where, we said, okay, it's a Mylar balloon outage. And we do on all of our information that we keep about outages, we do have a special section that's noted that says it's a Mylar balloon outage. So if you would happen to call me, say this weekend, and there was an outage in Alton, sometimes I can tell you, it was the wind, it was a car. I can actually now tell people since 2022, this was definitely the cause of a Mylar balloon release.
That's really cool too, to know that you have that much detail on your systems for, your customers and internal too. Do you have to hire more people, or do you have more on staff during when these things happen, or is it just one of those where it's the machine of Ameren that you guys just keep rocking and rolling?
It's, we try to train, our line workers for just about anything. And unfortunately, every time we say we've seen it all, we don't. So.
See, this is really fascinating because before we say goodbye for now, we do have some tips to keep people safe from these, or just, keep things in mind. And one of them I wanted to ask you about, then I'll ask you for the some of your other thoughts, is, because we have the rubber balloon, and then someone might tie some ribbon on that rubber balloon, and then the rubber balloon flies away, and then that metallic ribbon, if it is one, could still cause problems.
Correct.
That's fascinating. So what should we kind of keep in mind when we're having these outdoor events?
So I'll give you one that is something that you may not even think about. This is if you have neighbor kids, you have kids of your own, you have grandkids. The big thing that we see a lot of times too at parties is, somebody will tie the balloon to, Johnny or Susie's arm, and then you watch them run around. Just be wary especially if you're in a backyard celebrating. Make sure you know where your service drop comes in from the pole.
Oh,
you don't want somebody to be running around and have that balloon come in contact with something.
Yeah.
So that's a pro tip. And then the other thing is, again, we don't want to be the balloon police. I know I've said that several times. We want people to celebrate. Keep them tethered. Do pop them, like you said, because whether they're rubber or whether they're metallic, not only do they cause issues for Ameren in the system, but it also, later on when they come down, if they land in areas of water or whatever, now, there's all kinds of wildlife that you see gets entangled or eats something that they're not supposed to. And so it really does, have some other issues. But again, we're not telling people not to celebrate.
Or just get drones,
Hey, that's the new thing. That looks cool too with the lights and stuff.
That's what I'm saying. Go ahead and just do a drone show.
There you go.
Brian, it's always good talking to you. And thanks for sharing with us some important stuff from Ameren today.
Absolutely.
We'll be out of time in just about 10 seconds, but it's been great talking to you. We're out of here. One more day. Friday is almost here, my friends. We got the Kentucky Derby coming down the pipeline and so much more. Friday's show's full. I hope you join me then. And until then, try your best to stay out of jail.